Throughout ancient history, Native American tribes have played crucial roles in shaping the historical landscapes and cultures of the Americas. While many tribes are known for their rich traditions, contributions, and resilience, others have earned a reputation for their fierce warrior cultures and feared tactics in battle. With each battle they won, they became even more powerful, and their fame spread widely so much that they soon became the terror of their neighboring tribes. Life among Native Americans, then, was almost always a constant battle for survival. At a time when the ultimate quest was to conquer new territories and expand settlements, a few tribes earned their stripes through sheer acts of bravery and ruthlessness. When they were not fighting against their neighboring tribes for land and scarce resources, they resisted the U.S. government-led charge to cede their lands and go into reservations. These tribes were led by fearless leaders and became feared among their neighboring towns, villages, and camps. They developed some of the most advanced fighting tactics then, and were renowned for their organization, resilience, and ruthlessness. We will look at 5 of the most feared Native American tribes in this video. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Also, please turn on your notifications for this channel so you don't miss out on our next exciting videos. Modern-day America is a million times different in many ways from what it used to be when native groups mainly inhabited it. Resources were scarce then, and life was an endless battle for survival in the harshest of surroundings and the most basic living conditions. As each camp or tribe moved further outwards, searching for food and land, they often had to contend against each other. Intertribal fights and conflicts were a common theme, and warriors soon became a tribe's most prized assets. Some of the tribes distinguished themselves over different exploits and victories in battle. They held their ground against enemy attacks and struck with precision and brute force whenever they launched attacks. Their warfare heroics earned them widespread acclaim, and it is no surprise that they became highly feared among their fellow Native American tribes. We'll briefly discuss 5 of these tribes to understand how they achieved so much fame and notoriety in the distant past. The Comanche tribe used to occupy the vast expanses of the southern plains of North America in their heyday, and these places make up a large part of states from Texas to Colorado and Kansas today. The Comanche tribe was primarily known as masters of horsemanship and strategic warfare. Their exploits struck fear into the hearts of Native American rivals and European settlers alike. Yet, it was not always the case from the start. At the start, the Comanche tribe was mostly people who only wanted to feed their families and make further moves outwards if possible. They were a nomadic group of hunter-gatherers who hunted buffalo for food. So while their neighboring tribes spread outwards in search of more lands to conquer, the Comanche tribe contained themselves and were seemingly contented with their communal life. All that changed with the arrival of the Spanish people in their lands. While they interacted with the Spaniards, they were picking up one of their biggest skills in horse riding and mounted warfare. Soon, the Comanche people learned and mastered the art and skill of horse riding, which later helped them immensely. It was a skill that they put to good use at the height of the Indian War, which the then United States government waged against several native Indian tribes. The Comanche people became known for their skilled horsemanship and resilience, and in no time, they began to dominate around them and gain more ground. Using their deep understanding of the plains and expertise in mounted warfare, they soon became feared throughout the southern plains and claimed more lands. The Comanche were strategic and brutal in attack. They would carry out lightning-fast raids on enemy settlements, seizing horses, livestock, and captives in a very efficient way. Their warriors mostly armed themselves with bows, lances, and tomahawks while attacking from horseback. One of the most iconic figures in Comanche history is Quanah Parker. He was a visionary leader who led his people through a period of chaotic change in the late 19th century. His strategic brilliance and devotion to his people's survival ensured the Comanches' enduring legacy as formidable warriors of the Southern Plains. Although they faced severe opposition from many formidable adversaries in Spanish, Mexican, and American forces, the Comanches' resilience in battle served them well. It earned them a reputation as one of the most feared indigenous groups in the Americas, which still survives. Their legacy as fierce defenders of their homelands and the traditional way of life continues to inspire awe today. The Apache tribe is a group of smaller tribes united by their quest for survival and a common language. They were known as fierce fighters who lived in the southwestern USA long before the U.S. government ultimately evicted them. Like the Comanche tribe nearby, they were hunter-gatherers whose primary food source was their buffalo hunt. They comprised different groups or bands, including the Chiricahua, Jicarilla, and Mescalero, who all spoke variations of the Athapascan language. During winter, when it became increasingly difficult to hunt food, they would be forced to raid neighboring tribes. They also traded with the Pueblo Indians and spent some winters with their hosts. Other than that, the Apache tribe tried to live in peace and harmony with their neighbors. But all that changed when the Mexicans and Spaniards began to have designs in their lands. As the hosts embraced their guests' customs, such as horse riding, they quickly adopted fresh perspectives. Before long, they were engaging in conflicts with once amicable Pueblo Indian tribes and fending off assaults from the Comanche and Tejas Indians. While the Apache soon became a force to contend with among the Southwest tribes, it was its fierce battles with the Mexicans and the Americans that were most popular. They courageously battled these two groups, who fought to defend against white settlers encroaching on Apache land. The Apaches fought back fiercely while riding on horseback and put up a serious resistance. The Apache waged a relentless campaign against Spanish, Mexican, and American forces for centuries. Their hit-and-run tactics and intimate knowledge of the terrain allowed them to outmaneuver and outwit much larger and better-equipped adversaries. From the deserts of Arizona to the mountains of New Mexico, the Apache defended their ancestral lands with unparalleled courage and tenacity everywhere, from the Arizona deserts to the mountains in New Mexico. Geronimo, in particular, is renowned for his actions in the 19th century. He became a revered symbol of the Apache resistance after evading capture by the U.S. for a very long time. Although he would eventually be captured after surrendering, his resilience inspired his people to resist the superior U.S. forces for a long time. The Apache people fought gallantly against national troops for a long and were feared among their peers due to their skilled warfare strategies. The guerrilla warfare tactics they skillfully deployed in their battle against national forces were the scourge of their peers and neighboring tribes. It earned them respect and acclaim in the Southwest and helped them build a strong reputation in the past. The Sioux tribe left their mark across the vast expanse of the Great Plains of North America. The Sioux were renowned for their bravery, strategic insight, and fierce resistance against encroaching forces. They were led by visionary leaders such as Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, who rallied the tribe to defend their lands against a more vigorous opposition in the U.S. They assembled what is perhaps the biggest and most sophisticated army throughout Native America. They'd use this large army to resist threats from the USA's expansionist drive, and they soon began to instill fear in the hearts of their enemies. The Sioux waged a relentless struggle against U.S. expansion into their territories. Their victory at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, where they decisively defeated the General George Armstrong-led U.S. cavalry, remains one of the most iconic moments in Native American history. The Battle of Little Bighorn is not the only name and place associated with the Sioux resistance. There's the Custer's Last Stand, Red Cloud, Sitting Bull, and the Crazy Horse, all remembered today. Their battles against the U.S. were particularly interesting because the Sioux people were once friendly with the government. They were even subject to the Treaty of Fort Laramie that signed off on the Sioux people's land as part of the Great Sioux Reservation in 1868. Everything changed when gold was discovered in the Black Hills mountain range in Sioux land. Despite facing defeat and forced relocation onto reservations, the Sioux's legacy as defenders of their homelands and way of life endures. Their bravery and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds inspire admiration and respect, reminding them of the enduring spirit of Native American resistance. They would soon face a barrage of attacks from unruly prospectors, foreign settlers, and the U.S. government. The Sioux tribe fought fiercely against these enemies for as long as possible. They recorded several victories, and their fame began to spread widely. This tribe would soon become a people associated with Native resistance. Sioux warriors once murdered 31 American soldiers in the infamous Grattan Massacre. This event sparked a great conflict that gave rise to other conflicts. So, the Sioux people and its various subgroups had to fight against the United States for many decades, so they couldn't afford to be caught unaware and unprepared. This is probably why the Sioux tribe groomed a massive number of fighters who were charged with defending the tribe at every turn. Their warriors were well-trained and well-armed. With each successful pushback they recorded, their fame spread widely, and they would later become a formidable force that the U.S. government was constantly wary of facing. In the northeastern United States and Canada, the Iroquois Confederacy built a powerful alliance that reshaped history. They were made up of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca nations, and were renowned for their sophisticated political organization. The Iroquois leadership were experts in diplomacy and strategic alliances, and they were simply unstoppable when they threw the military organization into the mix. The Iroquois Confederacy is famous for its many victories on the battlefield throughout the 16th century. They are also known to have formed a few strategic alliances in the past that pitched them besides the French, the English, and the Americans at different times in history. So, the Iroquois Confederacy was not just another tribe or ethnic group. They mastered the art of diplomacy and were equally skilled in warfare. This made them the envy of their peers and neighboring tribes who were unable to mount any serious challenge to its supremacy on the northeastern front. There are a few notable points in history that speak highly of the influence and exploits of the Iroquois people. During the American Revolution, the Iroquois Confederacy split lines, with one side supporting the British and the other supporting the Americans. In the Beaver Wars of the 17th century, their strategic alliances also saw them through all the fighting and devastation. Far back in the colonial rule era, they also forged ties with the British and the French. Their constant lobbying meant they could always call on the help of their friends whenever faced with a superior opposition. They could afford to gain further grounds and lands in the Northeast, knowing they had the organization and resources to pull through. So, while the Iroquois people were not particularly brutal, they were highly regarded back then and built a strong reputation as a formidable tribe. Among America's first peoples, few names ring with such renown and dread as the Cherokee, the masters of the vast Appalachian domains in the southeast. They were a towering presence over present-day Tennessee, Georgia, and the Carolinas from a long time ago. During the 18th and 19th centuries, they defended their ancestral lands against constant encroachment by European settlers and American forces. Time and again, the Cherokee displayed remarkable bravery, resilience, and ruthlessness against extreme odds. The Cherokee tribe had warriors stationed in every hill town and river valley, ready to spill blood to defend their birthright lands. Their earliest and most notable conflict began when British colonists from the Carolina province erected an armed garrison deep into Cherokee territory and named it Fort Prince George. The Cherokee tribe was not have any of this incursion and knew the only way to express their rejection and resentment was to fight back. They would wage a 2-year guerrilla campaign against the Carolina militias, with the legendary war chief Oconostota leading the charge. With a team of over 500 men, he attacked the fort and drove out the settlers. This victory earned him praise, and neighboring tribes began to respect the Cherokee people even more. The Cherokee tribe was known to be ruthless when dealing with any perceived threats to its territorial integrity. Cherokee reprisals were ruthless and swift whenever colonists tried to expand past negotiated borders. There are many stories of rampaging Cherokee raiders that viciously attacked frontier settlers at the onset of America's War of Independence in 1775. The warrior chief, Dragging Canoe, is another famous Cherokee warrior whose renowned trick was to lay clever ambushes on militia units escorting supply trains through Tennessee's backcountry. He would fire the wagon trains and leave several scalped frontiersmen in his wake. Dragging Canoe would later repeat this trick in the historic 1776 battle at the Nolichucky River banks, where he ambushed a military contingent led by General William Koch. These are some of the more popular accounts of Cherokee exploits in the past that mark them out as a particularly fierce and ruthless group. Their resilience in the face of adversity was remarkable at the time, even though they later faced a harrowing fate. In 1838, a series of forced Indian removal policies under President Andrew Jackson gave the Cherokee grim options. They were given a choice to abide by U.S. terms or face extermination. The Cherokee signed a removal treaty to avoid more bloodshed, paving the way for America's dark chapter, known as the Trail of Tears. Though the United States eventually conquered the Cherokee Nation, early American history would have played out far differently without their bravery. Their story is one in a long line of inspiring stories of Native American and Indian resistance against coordinated oppression. These 5 Native American tribes discussed here were resilient, brave, relentless, and fierce in defense of their lands and people. Although they often committed several grievous acts against neighboring tribes and enemy forces, this was the only way they knew to survive in a highly competitive era. This is how we draw today's video to a close. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please tap the like and subscribe button on your screen and switch on notifications for this channel. This way, you can be notified whenever we roll out another video. Thanks for watching.